Sadie and I, we enjoy being in the community, finding new spots to go. We also enjoy traveling and being with friends and family.
My name is Sadie and I'm 32 years old.
My name is Colin and I am 34 years old, and Sadie and I have been together for 7 years. My erectile dysfunction journey started at birth. I was born with erectile dysfunction, which turned out to be a venous leak. I didn't discover that until I was about 19 years old. I had challenging teenage years. I grew up with erectile dysfunction, not once ever having an erection. What did that mean? That mean I had to find a solution. It was very challenging at the age of 19 to pick up the phone and call a doctor for the first time. Going to a doctor's office was scary. It was an emotional visit, and I remember that first conversation I had. It was almost as if the doctor didn't believe me that I had erectile dysfunction. I tried oral medication for the first time. It didn't work for me, so I had to find different options. After that first visit, I knew the next step was to find somebody to help me. I was 19 years old, so I called my dad. I remember the silence on the other side of the phone when I shared with him the news of my doctor visit and the condition that I thought I had. He was both speechless and a bit animated in concern. For me, it felt really good to have a support system from then on. From there, my parents helped me find the next step, which ended up being a penile implant. We didn't know it yet, but after a number of phone calls to different physicians, ultimately finding the Mayo Clinic here in Minnesota, that was the place where I found my solution. There was more tests to be done, and I did try injection therapy, which didn't work either. And I knew that roads were going to go towards a penile implant. At the time, that was pretty overwhelming. It was intimidating. But I had so much relief that I was going to find a solution that worked for me. The penile implant was described to me as feeling organic. It's a part of your body. You can have spontaneity. You can connect with your partner in whatever way that might be. It's something that's natural in both look and feel. And I thought, that's fantastic, right? And being so optimistic to solve for my erectile dysfunction challenge, I was all in on it. I decided to move forward with receiving a Coloplast Titan implant because it was the only solution that was going to work for my erectile dysfunction. When I knew that a penile implant was going to be my solution, I did think of some concerns. Now for me, the outcome and the optimism that I had outweighed those concerns. But any time that someone has surgery, I'm sure that they're slightly concerned, and the concern about a possible replacement or a possible infection does weigh on you, but the optimism that I had was exciting. And I knew that this solution was going to work for me and my body type and my situation, and so it didn't stop me from receiving one. So it was just after I had received my first Coloplast Titan, I had the opportunity to be single. And it was overwhelming and scary at first, just as being single can be. But then you realize, just like everybody else, you have the same fears, the same emotions, and dating can be challenging. But for me, the implant became a part of my body. Right? Just like anything else might be. And with practice, and you become comfortable with yourself, and you become confident. When Sadie and I first got to know each other, I made the decision to tell her that I had a penile implant. We were dating, we were getting to know each other, and at the time, I thought it was best just to have an open conversation about it. I'll admit, I was nervous at first. It was a natural part of my body. I had been used to it, and so I'd had it for a number of years, but it may have been a little overwhelming to her at first.
To say I was shocked is maybe an understatement. I didn't really know what it meant when he said penile implant, so I'll openly admit that I went straight to Google, as people do, kind of trying to figure out what it meant, what that would look like with our future together. I knew pretty early on that he was the one, so knowing that would kind of be part of our future, after many conversations, it just became a natural part of our relationship.
Having erectile dysfunction, You're always going to be concerned about how it impacts your life in all different ways. There's the intimacy side of it, there's the relationship side of it, and then there's, of course, the family planning and having kids side of it.
I was nervous early on about family planning, and that was a conversation that when he initially told me he had an implant, that was one of the first questions I asked. I knew kids were really important to me, so we had a conversation about it, and he had told me that it shouldn't and did not affect family planning.
After 10 years of my first implant, it came to a point where I needed a replacement. And one day I realized that it wasn't working anymore. And so thus begins the process again of talking to a doctor, and the same journey as I had before. The tough part for us as a couple was the replacement came right at a time where we were family planning. And so we had some concerns that if something didn't go quite right, that it would or may impact our ability to have kids. Good news for us is that recovery procedure went very well, and the new implant functions as it should. The most recent chapter of our lives together and my journey with erectile dysfunction and a penile implant has included having a 14-month-old son. We're so grateful for him to be here, and what I appreciate most about building a family together is not having to worry about erectile dysfunction getting in the way of that, getting in the way of our relationship, and we're able to confidently connect together to build a family.
And I think having him in our lives has brought us so much joy, so just being grateful to be parents in the most natural way.
I'm physically active. I still play hockey multiple times a week. We chase our 14-month-old around, and the penile implant has been something that really was that missing puzzle piece so long ago that now feels natural in my body. And I'm proud to say that in 6 years, I'll have spent half of my life with a penile implant. So when I become 40, that's half my life is with an implant, and at some point I'll have spent more time with than without. And it's just been such a relief to solve my erectile dysfunction challenges.
It's impacted our life in such a positive way to be able to be spontaneous, to have intimacy in our relationship. It has just helped us grow so much closer and be such a important thing in our relationship.